when you stick three opinionated blokes in a room and put World of Warcraft in front of them.
A completely unchained view from each of them that clash in spectacular fashion, much like the best raids of all time. Classic.
There's going to be someone who's always right and someone who's always wrong, like Dunkirk is, as we know the latest raids are much better.
So, with that in mind, it's time to take a look at the latest Warcraft news and speculation. But be careful what you wish for, because
You think you do,
but you don't. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is the almighty Farseer, and I am joined, as usual, on the show, You Think You Do, But You Don't, with the one and only Kexman.
I was sat there waiting. I was like, oh, it's finishing now, and I unmuted, and then it was just a black screen. I was like, what's he doing?
I was
doing?
I always had this chill music on, and then there was like a list of four, and I was like, which one do I want? I was like, okay, I'll pick this one. And then it came in really loud.
That is such a Farseer moment.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. The fact that all of a sudden you're like, oh, which one is going? And then you look at it, and then you just hear like the Windows error message.
You say that. Okay, hold on. You say that, but the other day, my manager said something to me, and I stared at him, and I said, you know the Windows error message? I said, that just went off in my head, and he looked at me and just laughed. Yeah, so that's very accurate. Anyway, welcome to the show where we have it's the most opinionated show on Warcraft Radio.
Yes,
and
it really is. Obviously, I wasn't here last week, so
no one was here last week.
Nobody was here last week. I wasn't here because I was at a gig, something that I obviously booked quite a while back. Dunkirk wasn't here because I think he may have actually merged with a bus. I think he's actually become part bus, part Scotsman.
He could have been.
I don't know if he still exists on.
I'm pretty sure
we would class as a human level. Which, to be fair, he's a Scotsman, so it's gonna fall short anyway.
I'm pretty sure there was a cartoon with a character that turned into a bus. I can't remember what it was called, but that's all I'm.
A transmorpher, he has. Obviously, thank you to everyone for joining us here this week. Runestark, Zeke, Rav, obviously all you guys in the chat. It's been a busy old couple of days.
It has been.
It's
so, well,
of it good.
A busy week or 2 weeks really.
Busy week. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it kind of in the middle. First off, obviously, thank you for joining us here on Twitch, but we are also doing something over on YouTube at the moment. Obviously, it is currently the race to world first in Warcraft.
Oh, is it?
Some recap videos every single day. We're currently on day 4. Day 4 of
You
the
should
world.
know this. You should know this.
I was trying to think because I was like it's day 4. So
just go by our time. Our time's the right time.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting at the moment. I actually have Method Stream open up on another thing, so I can keep an eye on them because they're currently going for Il'gynoth. Carapace looks horrific, but we're gonna have to wait and see how that plays out.
Carapace of Zoth.
Carapace of Zoth looks horrific, and Zoth himself is going to be even more painful.
Yeah.
So we're doing recaps on that. We are also keeping up to date on our fantastic Race to World First page. That is warcraftradio.com/Race to World First. And if you follow us on Twitter at Warcraft Radio, you find all of the World First news going straight onto our Twitter feed with some fantastic images beautifully put together by an incredible artist. I don't know who could have put all those together. They should probably show themselves in the Twitch chat. Just
they
so
should.
we know who put them together because they are beautiful.
I think it's Zach, Zook, Zop, and Zoops. No, that's not it.
Oh no, it's Zachatry Zero and
that name I remember. I usually just call him Tree for short because I can't pronounce that.
I call him Tron. I normally call him Tron. I think it's fair to say that it has been a busy week. So with that in mind,
By the way, thank you, Zekatron. We're obviously talking about you.
With that in mind, we should head straight into the first topic, which, of course, is the race to world first.
So we have been covering this for the past couple of days like flies on poo. And essentially, if there's been no bigger flies than Kexman sat on that pile, just ready to... I'm just going to stop on this analogy, otherwise it's just going to get worse and worse. But we've been covering the race to world first.
Since Tuesday, actually. Obviously, Tuesday was when the US started, Limit, Big Dumb Guild, Camel Club. There were some massive guilds that were entering into the race on Tuesday. And then it got even bigger on Wednesday when Method entered the race alongside Pieces.
The current world champions.
Just to name a first. Yes, Method currently are the world champions. They were the first guild to get down Mythic as Shara. However, it hasn't been smooth sailing this week, has it, Farseer?
No, it hasn't. There's been a few ups and downs, and I also want to include, as we are bringing this in, so America started first, and then we got EU with the champions method, and I've also seen, thanks to your latest video that is over on youtube.com/Warcraft Radio, that an Asian guild, I can't remember the name of it, you'll know them, has also caught up with the first place place champions. Yes, which is very interesting.
So this is something that happens every single time, and it's one of the big factors in the conversation when people are talking about having a unified start time for this world first race. It's 9 times out of 10, the Asian guilds start, and all of a sudden they race into this. Like Alpha, for example, they managed to get 7 out of 12 quicker than any of the other guilds.
That's scary.
It kind of is scary. Obviously, you've got to take into account the fact that they do have like 2.5 days worth of footage that they can examine, they can see, they can take a look. There is also the fact that the Asian client of Warcraft is slightly different. There are slight differences there in regards to health, in regards to gear, so it's not a perfect match. But that does not take anything away from what these guys managed to achieve. It is phenomenal. That goes for all the guilds.
Why is there differences on the Asian client? I'm curious, because I didn't know this. This is news to me. Why is there differences?
Yeah, so the differences are obviously they have a slightly different time frame when it comes to playing. Whereas we pay for subs, where we can play for X amount of time, they play for. If this is how it used to work this way, it may have changed. But they pay for game time in a slightly different manner. They pay by the hour, I believe it is. Or they used to, or there would be some sort of cap on how often they could play.
Right.
And because of this, there was a slight inflation in some of the boss's health because they slightly inflated some of the gear that you could gain. It may have changed, but that was, if I remember rightly, that was kind of how it used to work. I'm not 100% up
interesting
on how that worked.
That definitely is interesting. That's something I didn't know.
Massively interesting. But it's one of the reasons as to why the Asian guilds are so terrifying when it comes to this. This race to world first, because you'll notice that it will kick in, and then all of a sudden there'll be like 2 or 3 guilds in the top 20, in the top 15, and you're going, where have they just come from?
That's it. So I mean, even with us watching really closely, and we're seeing like Limit and Method, like the solid 2 to kind of like reach for that crown, like they're fighting out, we're busy watching all these, and then all of a sudden, just out of the shadows, it's like suddenly them, like, whoa, where did they come from? And
Alpha just go,
but it makes it exciting, though. I mean, I hope it comes down to the wire. I hope like Limit and Method are both on and zoth, and they're both pushing those like health bars. I want to watch them side by side, and I want to hope that it comes down to the wire, because how exciting that would be. Rather than just knowing that guild's on and zoth and that one isn't, it's like, oh, that guild's gonna get it. It's more exciting when you see them actually bash heads and really push for that win.
It's interesting to note that we are so there's a lot that's gone on in this race to world first. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the more controversial stuff in a little bit, but the one thing that has really been noticed from a lot of the viewers is it seems as though it's rare for Method to be behind at this stage of the race. One thing that Method always do is they are the kings of pulling very, very carefully. It's very, very rare you see them chain pulling bosses. When you've got players like Scripe, like Roger Brown, people like that can put together fantastic weak auras that can really take a look at strats. For example, during the Mythic Ashara kill, they actually sat one of their raiders for 4 hours of progress, just so they could look at videos, abilities, and combine all that knowledge to create weak auras for the guild. After that 4 hours was up, they returned with the weak auras, and it massively improved everything that they could do.
Now I got a question.
It's interesting.
I have a question, Kexman.
I've got a question. That is, how awesome is Salty Murloc for that subscription?
How awesome! Salty Murloc is awesome for that 4 months of subscriptions. Thank you, Salty Murloc. You're awesome. He also said Method are going to methods are going slow to create suspense. That's what it is. It's an act. They're not actually putting it in their all. I don't think it's. They've only gone Super Saiyan 2 when they could go Super Saiyan 3. It's like the fight versus Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z. He could have gone all out, but he didn't. That's what Method's doing.
So here's one of the interesting things. This race, as TS Gamer puts, this race is currently limits to lose, and it's worth noting that this is the first time we've seen an American guild pretty much all in one location. When Limit were doing their attempts with when they were at Red Bull, if I remember rightly, the whole guild wasn't there at Red Bull, so they were having to play via and the internet at the Red Bull esports hub in London is going to be phenomenal, but there's going to be a little bit more latency than probably what they may be used to. So playing with that is always going to affect a Mythic Raider because they operate at such a cutting edge in comparison to everybody else that latency that we do not notice is the difference between life and death, difference between a failed attempt and a kill.
Yes, of course.
So, that's going to be massive. The fact that they have got themselves into a hub where Method are is showing us realistically the possibility for an American guild to reach its potential for the first time. Yes. Method are pretty much, the EU is fairly small in comparison to America, so the internet isn't as bad. You're not going to find people, and it's a lot easier for us to take time off. It's a lot easier for us to take time off for stuff than it is for Americans to take time off from their jobs.
It is a bit different for like the big high-end people though, sort of like Method, for example, because when they're sponsored, like they've been given like, here you go, we can take a week off because we're being paid for it essentially. So if they're sponsored in America, I assume Limit is. If they're sponsored, then they can also take that sort of same route. But like that's what makes it harder for other guilds, I think, to kind of push in and keep the momentum going like they do because they don't have the time to do that. However, saying that makes it even more incredible that guilds like, sorry if I got it wrong, but Alpha, it makes it even more incredible because they're not sponsored. They're not like these guilds that get to sit together and like hit it for a week.
Alpha probably do make a little bit of money. I think the best comparison you've got is if you take a look at most of the US guilds. So for example, Midwinter, Limit and Aversion are all US guilds, and they have been able to raid to a decent degree these past couple of days because they, and especially for Limit, the fact that they've changed their name to Complexity Limit, which is obviously the dealer that they've made with Complexity because they're at the Complexity gaming area, and you look at the World First race, and pretty much every other American guild underneath them starts their raid day at about 4 or 5 p.m. American time when people finish work. TS Gamer really put it in a very succinct way, is they are sponsored now. They can take the time off work without worrying as much about the financial loss, which is a huge thing in America.
Yeah.
And that is the big thing. Over in America, they couldn't take the time off the same way we can over in Europe. Because of that, they always struggled to put the sheer amount of man hours that Method put in.
Yeah.
Now Limit are able to do that we are seeing the fruits of their labor. They are now one step ahead of Method this entire time.
Yeah.
Obviously, the race isn't over yet. That can change very, very quickly. They've managed to get to phase 2 Carapace, and they've managed to get to 60%. So that's, that's good. That's good for them.
Yeah.
But Method are hot on their heels. It took Limit 106 pulls to kill Il'gynoth. I can see Method doing that in about 30 less pulls, maybe even lower. I'm not sure
if
what
they
pull
do,
they are on at the moment.
If they do, I think they will pull it back.
If they manage to kill Il'gynoth tonight and get some work on Carapace, having a look at how the fight works, it's going to get down to nut cutting time.
Oh yeah.
And Method are the best guild in the world when it comes to just turning around and going, you know what? It's time for us to kill this.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Like I said,
it's going to be cool. That'll be the time where I'll be watching the most. So I'm not watching intently, not as much as you guys, like you, Atlas and Ketra and what have you. You guys are watching like...
right now.
I know you're watching it. There you go. See the dedication. But me, I'm sort of watching it. I'm tuning in now and then and just seeing how it is. But when it comes down to if it's like neck and neck, they're both on and off, they're both pushing it, I'm going to like... Shit, we should turn the camera on and just do another reaction video.
I mean, I'm currently watching Limit now on Il'gynoth. And I think after because there was an initial like, holy shit, when the boss first pulled, but now it seems as though they're making some fairly decent progress. Currently we're looking at Preheat, who's a mage. Which one of the interesting things is mages are, at least Limit, are running fire mages, which is very, very rare to see, especially more than one.
It's to burn away the corruption.
It is that's
simple.
what they're doing right now, is burning away corruption.
Yeah.
I honestly can see Carapace taking a long time looking at this.
Okay. If it doesn't, do you think we'd be pushing for the quickest world first race that they've ever done? If they can start slamming through like really fast,
it'll be up there. I mean, I'm more impressed at Artemis slamming through the 6-month subscription barrier. 6 months. It's been 6 months since Warcraft Radio returned.
Oh yeah, holy crap!
6 months.
And you're sub for everyone that month, Artemis. Returns. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That
how time flies indeed. And we're still here. We're still clutching on. Still doing our thing. And
still doing what we need to do.
But hey, we've gone through. We've spoken about our hopes and dreams and whatever for the world first and how it's been. But let's hit the juicy little bits that we've missed along the way. So we had a little bit of an issue with Raden, didn't we? Where Limit did a little bit of and Kexman will probably correct me on this, but Limit did a little bit of clever use of game mechanics, we'll put it, because... Well,
yeah, I suppose, yeah. Okay, we'll call it clever use.
Because they weren't called on it. Until Blizzard puts down a hammer, it's, okay, that's a clever use of game mechanics, is how it would be.
Yeah.
So, Raden, as a boss, has a much shorter reset timer than most other bosses. I think than any other boss in the raid.
Most bosses, as a general rule, have 25 to 30 second reset timer.
Yes.
Whether that's, whether you've pulled them far away or however you reset it. And they usually have a 25 to 30 second reset timer.
And I would imagine the reason for that is because to prevent what has been done. I'd imagine that might be the main reason.
It's never really considered. It's never been considered, to be honest.
No.
It feels as though It feels as though this is a bug, but it is a bug on the part of the developers, rather than people exploiting a bug. So what Limit found was he had a very, very short reset timer. So what they did was they would start the boss. Their demon hunters would pop Metamorphosis, which is their big cooldown.
Demon form.
They would reset Raden, and then when you reset a boss, your 2-minute cooldowns or below also reset. What they did then is, obviously, the demon hunters are already in Metamorphosis form. They go into the fight once Raden respawns 10 seconds later, and they've got extra time on Metamorphosis, and they can use Metamorphosis again, giving them a DPS increase. Method saw this, and being Method, they always seem to manage to do this. They'll look at something and they'll go, you know what, we could do better. So what they did was they used Warlocks, and they stacked a tome, I think it's Grimoire of Sacrifice, which basically increases your Chaos Bolt damage.
They did change that. I haven't played my Warlock for like since the beginning of BFA. So when was this? When was that? Was that changed like into BFA, or did that change part of the way into BFA? Do you know?
I believe it changed into BFA.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So
because I know it never used to work like that,
or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So what they did was they would reset the boss 2-3 times in a row. Each time Warlock would be stacking this damage using Grimoire because it would reset, and then on the final pull, what they would do is they would use all of their abilities that have kind of been stacked up, and their damage would go through the roof. Warlocks normally at this sort of level, at Methods level, will sit at around about 100k burst DPS, if obviously everything lines up.
Yes.
The Warlocks that we saw on Methods pull were bursting closer to 300k.
Ooh, that's beefy. That's a beefy amount of DPS.
It's a beefy amount of DPS. There's some absolute, there's some absolute blasters in that group. As
now, here is the big question. Now, Blizzard have not gone ahead and gone, nah, that's bad. When Blizzard did that before, obviously the most famous one that comes to mind is the Saranat bombs of Lich King, where Blizzard goes, nah, that's bad, no good, and
which is bad when you actually look at it. They knew exactly what was happening.
But the thing is that they haven't said this with Method yet. I'd imagine if they would say it, they should say it like very, very, very close to the time it's done. Not wait for a bit and then say it. While they sit there, because they're sitting there going, should we? And unless it's no, that is wrong, they should do it right away, I think. And
at no point did they stop doing it. It was more a case of, okay, Limit have done this. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're just going to take it to the next level. So they haven't done anything that Limit haven't done. And it's interesting to note that Max, who's the leader of Limit, is, he's a fantastic raid leader. I've never met him, but I'm sure he's a fantastic guy. He did get kind of salty on Twitter about this. First things first, the first thing he got salty about was, and one thing we do need to discuss, is the changes to Raden that were made before this. So there were changes to Raden. In the Mythic phase, you get 3 orbs instead of 2. In, the normal and heroic versions, you have the Vita and you have the Void. On the Mythic version, you have the Nightmare. This Nightmare orb, one of the abilities, Unstable Nightmare, it places on a character. There's a large targeting circle around them. When that targeting circle expires, it deals a massive burst of damage inside the circle.
I'll see if I still have that clip. Let's have a look.
There we go. So obviously you take a step away. Here we go. So here's the clip.
This is not the Raden one. I've got this up, and I'll see if I can. This is Vexiona. I will see if I still have the Raden one. And I'll bring it up.
Obviously, Vexiona was a boss that many people considered was going to be quite a difficult boss. But in actuality, Vexiona turned out to be rather easy. I think both Limit and Method managed to kill her within 12 minutes, which was nowhere near as bad as...
With their kill of Vexiona late last night during Progress, all eyes were on Limit today with their Raden encounter. Raden was earmarked as one of the more difficult bosses in this Mythic run, and difficult he indeed appears to be. One debuff that was causing issues though was Unstable Nightmare. This is placed on one player with 5 stacks. However, what would happen is there would be a large targeting circle around the player. With their kill of Vexiona late last night during Progress, all eyes were on Limit today with their Raden encounter.
I was trying to put Raden on, but for some
reason,
reason,
one of the
I have the
more
Raden
difficult
clip, but it's not
bosses
loading.
in this
I'm trying to
Mythic
sort
run,
that.
and difficult he indeed appears to be.
Can you mute
one debuff that was causing issues though was Unstable Nightmare.
It definitely is, because
this
there's
is
still
placed
something
on
playing
one
in the background. I can hear it.
That's interesting.
There we go. You've now paused it.
Oh, that'll be the Raden one. Okay, so there was audio playing from Raden, but not visual. That was so weird. Okay.
Okay, but if you're going to play another video, can you mute it? Because I'm talking
I will.
on
Yeah,
the videos
that's
you're playing.
fine. You shouldn't have been.
Unless TF Gamer said #production value.
Yeah. There's always great production values, especially on this show. Let me have a quick. Let me just re-put it in.
I mean, could you just show us?
I can just show us. I'll give up on that. I would. And that's what I get for trying to do something a bit more fancy. That's what I try to get to do a bit more fancy flourish. I won't touch it in the future.
Don't do that anymore. Yeah, so the Unstable Nightmare, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by myself, it basically gives a debuff with 5 stacks to 1 player, large circle around them. Don't be stood in that circle when the debuff expires. If you are stood in that debuff, or if multiple people are stood in that debuff, they will all gain the Unstable Nightmare debuff as well. However, if nobody is stood in there, it will simply lose a stack and go to the next person, which is how you would deal with this. Go to the nearest person, they would step out, then go to the nearest person, they would step out. So you would just swap through all 5 stacks. What limit we're finding, however, is that if you turn around and you used somebody in the circle, or the nearest person to the circle used an immunity, such as Ice Block, Bubble, anything like this, the debuff would jump to them, but then dissipate completely because they had an immunity.
This was not working as intended according to Blizzard.
No.
So they were like, this is on our second day 2 World First video. We covered this.
Yeah, it's interesting. So the problem is that they allowed Limit. There was no communication with Limit whatsoever. It took Blizzard a couple, like 6 hours and 50 attempts for them to suddenly change it out of the blue, which kind of annoyed Limit, because they were like, hang on, we've already got the boss down to 12%, we're close to a kill, and now you've managed to do this.
Well, I kind of side with Blizzard on this, because you know that at least one of the devs that helped with Raden was watching this and going, that kill looked weird. Or that, it's like, and then they watched it happen again and again, and they were like, you can imagine, then they call someone else in and be like, hey, Ian, or whoever else, or, raid designers, and be like, is that really a thing that should be happening? They're probably like, they then watch and then go, so this will be like the 5th pause, or it'll be like, no, that's not. And they're like, okay, cool, maybe we've got to do something. And they had to do it right away, because if Limit got the kill, then they changed it after. That gave Limit an unfair advantage because they fought a boss that no one else fought with an exploit.
Yep.
And then it would have been much worse. So yes, Limit
That's fine.
are understandably upset that it got changed, but at the same time, it wasn't a mechanic intended that Blizzard wanted. And
that's fine.
They either changed it then or not change it at all for any of the guilds.
Okay, that's fine. My question then is, how did something like that manage to sneak through their testing?
Because
how
testing,
did something
I can answer that easily.
Simple manage to get through their testing?
Because testing isn't perfect. That's
testing's not perfect. Yes, I quite agree. If this was a very, very thing, if this was a very, very small thing, like a very specific, like if you're stood in this spot, and you time your jump at this point, it doesn't affect you, I would agree with you. This is a massive ability that is in the mythic encounter, is immune by somebody using Ice Block.
Yeah.
If in their head, Blizzard didn't take 5 seconds to go, what happens if you Ice Block it?
Now,
that shows a very, very poor grasp of their own game.
Yes, very true. But as Artemis says, because Blizzard don't test 8.3. 8.3 is apparently one of the most tested patches that they've done, and that even came from Taliesin.
How did something like that get through?
Well, I can give possible reasons. Possible reasons are because I'd imagine, again, if it's the most tested, they've tested it again and again and again, changes again and again, changes again and again. I imagine for maybe most of the changes, they tested it again and again. It worked the same way. Maybe in the last few tests, they kind of maybe went over it and it didn't get tested because it was like maybe there were some bigger things to test, so it maybe went under the radar against like more important things, and they assumed, perhaps because in most of the previous tests that was never an issue, that it shouldn't have come up as an issue. It's sort of like the auction house change. No one ever touched the auction house on the Blizzard development side because they knew it would break everything, but like they didn't know what it would break if they changed it. So they changed it, and then these big things broke, and then there was also these really small things that broke as well, and they're like, wait, what? So that was like over there.
I'll tell you one thing. There is no way that this is the most tested patch Blizzard have ever done, and I'll tell you for why. Number one, this managed to slip through a major mechanic on something that is going to have tens of thousands of people watching. They knew they would have to test that to death. And if something like that slipped through the loophole, that does not bode well for the future bosses. Number two, the fact that the auction house to this day is still horrifically broken. I have 5 people in my guild alone that are unable to log in because they opened the auction house. They opened the auction house and now they cannot log in because their character with that name already exists.
I love that bug.
Number 3,
yeah, go on.
The fact that every single corruption mechanic that they have done, with the exception of, you know, some of the very, very standard ones like, oh, your mastery is increased, has had to have been altered multiple times. Just recently, they hotfixed corruption mechanics during the world first race. That proves to me that either A, Blizzard's testing department is massively incompetent, or B, the fact that Blizzard's testing department needs more time. Now, obviously, they cannot, you know, testing is one thing, having it available to the world is another thing. Yes. So I'm happy to overlook stuff such as, you know, the auction house, because there is no physical way that they could ever replicate the stress that the auction house would be under by having millions of auctions put on it and having to track all of them.
It is linked into everything. Yeah, it is absolutely everything.
Fine. I can kind of let that go. My argument is, okay, if that's the case, you're doing something like that, don't do it in a patch, do it in an expansion.
You could argue that, but whenever you do it, people would be really unhappy.
I cannot ignore that.
Well, I mean, it's something that got through. Yes, it got through. Did they do the right thing to try and fix it? Yes. Should it have got through? No. I don't.
Disagree.
You can disagree.
Realistically, every single time that we, you know, if it comes down to 2 things. Number one, Limit should. One argument is Limit should have messaged Blizzard and said, "Hey, this is happening. Is this intended?" That's the case, then, you know, A, it still falls on Blizzard. That's their mess up. Blizzard also should have been having, you know, a closer look at these fights, and they should have turned around. Realistically, if this was happening within 15 pulls, 20 pulls, they should have turned around and said, you know, hey, look, this is happening. We should say something to them. Give them the chance to go and work on Drestagath instead of Raden. The communication could have been better. So not only...
communication could always be better, yeah. I agree on that.
Communication could have been better across the board for this. Not only did they manage to mess up the fact that, you know, oh, the corruption doesn't go through immunities. That's a massive thing. But also the fact that they decided to hotfix it, again, in the middle of an encounter. That is, that's slightly ridiculous. And if it was a very niche thing that Limit were doing, I could kind of understand it. I could go, okay, that's Limit kind of really testing the boundaries of what is acceptable. Yeah. That's Limit really, and that's Blizzard. In no way, shape, or form would they have ever thought that this was something people were going to do. Same as the Bloodthirsty changes. At no point did Blizzard ever think, oh, this raid guild is going to bring 10 healers and just slowly damage the boss down through his roars. That would probably never entered their mind. Mm-hmm. This is something that is so ingrained in the raiding culture of WoW, especially at cutting edge. Using stuff like Ice Block when you've got a big ability coming in, the fact that it is ignored or the fact that it was ignored, or even worse, not spotted, doesn't bode well for future raids.
So here's a question. So this will be the last bit of this, as we'll start to move on to the next topic. But last question for you then, when it comes to that. I know the answer will probably be something like where the blame would lie. But the question is, where does the blame lie? Now, is it with the testing department, but only if they have the staff and have the time to do it and they still missed it? Or is it the fault of maybe Blizzard themselves if the testing department is understaffed? Where would you put the blame?
It's obviously if it's a case of the testing department being understaffed, then it's an issue for Activision Blizzard. It's exactly who is a problem.
Yeah,
it is an issue with testers not knowing what to look for. It's a problem with Activision Blizzard.
Because they need to train the testers to know what to look for. It's their job to make sure they know what they're doing.
Exactly.
And that they can do their job.
If it is an issue with maybe something being missed on a change to a test realm, it falls on Activision Blizzard. At the end of the day, if this was not intended, it falls on nobody but Activision Blizzard. There is absolutely there is absolutely no reason for them to, kind of turn around to Limit and say, that's your fault. How is that Limit's fault in any way, shape, or form? At the end of the day, the buck, regardless of whether or not... So, if it gets into the encounter and the race to world first, and 20 pulls in, Blizzard go, hey guys, look, just to let you know, we're going to hotfix this. This isn't working, as it is intended. I'm sorry for this, but seems to be something that slipped through. Fine, fantastic. They've held their hands up and they've said this is our fault. We can now obviously, and Limit could say, right, okay, until the hotfix comes in, we'll go and do Drestigath, or we'll do splits. However,
yes, continue.
If on the other side of things they turn around and they say, they don't say anything, and then all of a sudden they hotfix it, I can understand why Limit are like, hang on, what? Do you want to give us something here?
Unless it hasn't been communicated to us from people like Limit and Meth or whatever that they were contacted. We go off Limit's word, of course, that they weren't contacted by Blizzard ahead of time. If they weren't contacted by Blizzard, then yes, I do agree with you. They should have, and then that falls into a really repetitive thing that Blizzard do, where they are really hesitant to ever admit that they make mistakes. And when they do admit they make them, they're very passive about it. They never just say, we messed up, sorry. Like they have done sometimes in the past, but there are some in the past, yeah. But sometimes they should just, like with this, just go, yep, sorry, that was intended, that is on us. And they should just do it. I don't get why they feel as though that is detrimental to them, as if their stocks are going to drop if they admit that they made a mistake. It's more, people are more forgiving if they admit their mistakes, because they're not they're a company, they're good at what they do, but they still make mistakes and they happen. And this is going to be relevant to our next topic as well. And just like
incorrect.
So
for us, the general gaming audience, it's a better communication. However, let's not forget, people like Activision and their shareholders, that isn't good.
I mean, I don't know, man, because it just, I don't know, just saying that, like, a mistake was made in an MMO and the size it is, with the infrastructure now getting really old, no one can expect, and I mean, maybe they do, because it's big corporations, but no one can expect on the small end from us, and also the big end, that everything will be fine all the time, because it's such an old game. Again, and we've said this on the show, people forget that World of Warcraft is like 15 years old. It is.
World of Warcraft is still technically running on an engine that was created from Warcraft 3.
Which has just been remade for Reforged. Like, that is absolutely insane. Well, yeah. Built on top of, but yes. But even so, it's 15 years old. Its infrastructure is, like, it's doing way more than it should do for the engine. Like, the engine is doing way more. And without redoing the entire game in a brand new engine, there is no way that this is... It's literally like an old car that they're basically just adding new parts to and keeping it running. And credit to them, they're doing it, and they're doing it better than I'm pretty sure anyone else ever could, especially from like the era when it began to where we are now. So it is how it is. But yeah, so I just understand that things happen. But however, speaking of Warcraft 3, a game has been released finally, not at the end of 2019 in December, but in 2020, January, Warcraft 3 Reforged, or just Warcraft Reforged, has been released finally with the story mode, that is Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos and Frozen Throne in one. It has been released, it's all go, it's out there in the world, and it's been received with a backlash of hellfire and brimstone, and even Chris Metzen went to the field. It's like, so hey guys, how you finding Warcraft Reforged? And I want to dive in.
No!
And me and Kex are like diving in front of him, like, get down, Mr. President, because of all.
Basically, yeah.
We don't want nothing to happen to Chris.
So I have a lot of feelings about this.
Okay.
I wasn't.
I
I'm
am
not a
very
massive RTS fan.
I'm very interested in your feeling. Do you want me to start off with Pride? Because he has sent me some. He's sent me.
Yeah, go with Pride. So for those that don't know, Pride is our resident, or one of our resident Warcraft 3 experts, along with Impervium, who's joining us in the chat.
Yes,
hello,
indeed.
Impervium.
Hello.
And they did some streams, obviously playing some Warcraft 3 Reforged, and they've had an absolute blast. They've really, really enjoyed Warcraft 3. However, for the general gist of things, Warcraft 3 Reforged has definitely caused a bit of a backlash in the community. Yes. So if we start with Pride's thoughts, Pride is...
I've got to paste this in here because he sent it in like a notepad document, so it's going off the page. Just
oh, God. Because of course.
Yeah, I know.
However,
yes.
However, if you are going to be reading Pride's statement...
Oh, no! I can't...
You have to do it
no.
in your Pride impression.
God damn it.
You have to do the entire thing in your Pride impression.
Oh.
So, I'm going to take... For the first time ever, I'm going to shut my mouth, and we are going to listen to Farseer doing his Pride impression with the Warcraft 3 feelings.
Fine. So this is actually what Pride has sent me, because we had a quick discussion earlier. He was either going to pop on the show or make a video for us, but he is currently busy at work, so this is what he has sent me. I'm deeply saddened, both by the community response and the botched launch of Warcraft Reforged. It's no secret the game releases with a lot of issues and will need more continued development. That's a weird one. Warcraft 3, even to this day, my favorite video game of all time. One I've spent countless hours over 15 plus years. I really wanted to see the community flourish again. I was really excited by the prospect once again of having a big Western tournament to be able to make new friends and rivals on the ladder. Plus discovering new interesting custom games for the community that come up with. The community response, in my opinion, basically turns this possibility into non-reality. And get and agree with the feelings expressed. I am too upset that we didn't get the promised features. I am too upset that the game launched with bugs and crashes. I am too upset that Blizzard, and more specifically the Classic Games team, was unresponsive throughout the development of the game. But it isn't their fault. What these folks are running, it's the mayor's. What these folks are running around and actively seeking is the total destruction and failure of Reforged. Don't understand, it's that, it's the, okay, I've got to stop this, otherwise it's not
No, keep going.
Fuck. What these folks running around actively seeking, the total destruction and failure of Reforged, don't understand is that no developer wants to release a bad game. No developer with true passion wants to have things that go the way they did. Oh, God, this is so long. The problem here is that these aggressive tactics, such as review bombing Metacritic, brigading users to a request of a refund, and shaming people who are considering purchase or have enjoyed that purchase, is doing everything to hurt their cause, not help it. Developers develop video games. In order to develop games, they need money, but the money comes in the form of a budget, and the budget is dedicated by the financial branch of the company. You're upset because you didn't get the game you wanted, and yet your actions will only lead to ever being able to have it. It doesn't make it any financial sense to continue developing something that is not going to get developed. Blizzard recently struck a deal with ESL to run tournaments. You could summarize that because the deal was, the very least, there will be some form of continued development for 3 years. Right, the next 3 years. The length of that deal, I don't know, the way he talks is so weird, like how he talks. With the community's reaction to the launch, that may be falling apart behind the scenes. Blizzard did not make a good decision when it came to Reforged, but those decisions, these problems, can all be fixed if they have a budget. Your continued hatred and rage towards the problems of the release are not going to get the game fixed. It's going to get the game that we have all loved for so long to be truly be abandoned in a worse state than it was if first go around. Okay, I'm not. This is difficult.
You're nearly there. You're nearly there.
I'm not telling you to support Blizzard's decision. I want you to raise your voice. I want this community to continue to fight for change. But the way we're collectively going about it right now is not the way that leads to change. Warcraft 3 is not dead. It is wounded. And instead of healing it, we're continuing to rip into it. God, he's turned to Magni. I love this game, and I want it to succeed. Please help make it happen. Sincerely, Pride, a Warcraft 3 fan.
That legitimately sounded like Kermit doing a Barack Obama impression. What the fuck was that?
I can do Pride in short bursts. I can't maintain Pride, okay? You forced me to do that.
Terrible.
You forced me.
That was terrible.
You forced me, goddamn. Jesus.
That was awful.
Like
I'd like to apologize to Pride for that one.
That's on you. That is on you for making me do that. So basically, long story short, in a serious turn on this, what Pride is saying is that he is really disappointed with how the community is basically reacting towards this. He understands the frustrations, though, that there are things wrong. But as a passionate player who has played Warcraft 3 for a very long time and wanted to see this do really well, he feels extremely disappointed with how people are reacting to this and think people need to calm their shit. Let's just put it that way.
I don't think it's so much calming down. I think it's more a case of presenting it in a much more constructive manner. So review bombing Metacritic is a completely pointless endeavor. Harassing people that are enjoying the game is a completely useless endeavor. If they wanted change, ironically, the funniest thing they could have done is support the game.
Yeah.
So instead of turning around and going, oh, we're just going to review bomb it, we're not going to play it, we want people to refund it, that doesn't really send much of a message. That's just that sounds like a kid throwing their toys out of a pram.
It's so weird because if you do that, they go, haha, I've refunded the game and I'm not playing it. Take that, Blizzard.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how
okay.
It goes. Congratulations,
you're not playing.
Nothing.
Yeah, I don't.
You have loads of free time. Well done.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that people can do is get behind the game and turn around and say, okay, this may not be what I wanted, which I will get into in just a moment because that's my thoughts on the game. But it does seem to be a case of, if you really wanted this to change, if you wanted to make a difference, support the game. Try setting up tournaments. If these tournaments don't work because of issues with connections, because of issues with people that can't log in, that's when you turn around to Blizzard and say, hey, look, I'm trying to support your game. I'm trying to get a tournament on the go, but it's just not working. It's because the game is broken on some sort of level.
Yeah.
I think my thoughts are going to be interesting. My thoughts are definitely, I think, going to trigger some people.
Yeah.
So obviously, I would like to apologize if that is the case, but I'm going to give them anyway.
Dude. Put it this way. We put our thoughts out there on the whole Hong Kong thing, and that was probably a lot more controversial than this. So I think we're good. But, by all means, put the apology out there first, but don't be sorry for putting your thoughts out there. Everyone is entitled to their own views. I think, I disagree with all the people if they're, going to extremes their dissent about this if they feel, if they feel hurt and upset that it's, it has these problems or whatever. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I accept that that's their view, that they're hurt and frustrated, but also accept that Kexman has his own view. And if you really want
mine's better.
Yeah, and if you really dislike him because he does that, dislike Kexman. I'm pretty sure he doesn't care.
There are much worse things to dislike me for, I can tell you that.
He'll give you a list if you want them. Anyway, Kexman, go ahead.
Okay, so my thought is the Warcraft 3 release is very much a case of the majority. There are legitimate issues with the game. Number one, the fact that there seems to have been a complete culling of the original Warcraft 3. There doesn't seem to be any way of accessing it through the battle launcher. There doesn't seem to be any way of accessing it outside of pirating the game and playing it outside of that, just playing the campaign. So that is one thing that needs to be addressed very, very quickly. I feel as though it is completely unfair to remove the original Warcraft 3, and I think that if that is the road that Blizzard have gone down, it's a very, very poor choice from them. I feel as though, if people want to play the original, the original Warcraft 3, then yes, they should be allowed to. There is no reason for you to stop doing that.
No.
The other side of it is I definitely feel as though a lot of people are angry because what they thought Warcraft 3 Reforged would be hasn't come to fruition.
Oh, it's like classic.
Very much so. But the difference is that classic was, the whole point of classic was, hashtag no changes.
Yes.
There wasn't to be any changes to it. Blizzard did make some changes, but...
And then people are like, oh, actually, these changes aren't bad. Those, sensible people.
Exactly. One thing that people wanted, Blizzard mentioned that there was going to be, redone cutscenes and new voiceovers and everything like that.
Oh,
people hated that idea. People didn't want that. I don't want my cutscenes. I want Warcraft 3 to just look better, which obviously they then turned around and did. But people still complaining. They're saying that Warcraft 3 Warcraft 3 Reforged looks ugly, when in reality it's, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it does look great.
Warcraft
it does look
3
great.
Looks brilliant Reforged. I think a lot of people said they saw the fact that it says Reforged cinematics and they lost their minds because the cinematics aren't brand new. I'm going to let you in on a little secret here, people. Reforged means to create the same thing with the same ingredients. That's exactly what they've done. If you reforge a sword, you can make it a hammer, you can do something with it, but it's still the same materials. You're not suddenly making something new. That's not called reforging. That's just called
forging.
So if you're reforging cinematics, guess what that means? You take the same material and you upgrade it, which is exactly what they've done. The new cinematics look fantastic.
I think
the fact that
there are some slight additions.
Don't stop me! The fact that people are complaining about the Arthas and Illidan cinematic is an issue with those people. That cinematic was never ever going to be as good as people wanted it to be, simply because the expectations of the community was much higher than anything Blizzard could have ever done. If that cinematic wasn't a completely integrated sort of like cinematic that they do for the starts of expansions or that they do for the Overwatch shorts with a massively choreographed fight between Illidan and Arthas, people would still be pissed off going, oh, why don't you include the Naga? Even, they would find something to complain about. The fact that Blizzard have gone out of their way to create a brand new cinematic in the same art style as the originals, or at least in the same art style as the rest of this entire sort of like, Warcraft 3 Reforged, is a fantastic thing. Something you should be happy about. But no, you're upset because for some strange reason, Thrall has a beard.
You're done.
I'm done now. You can.
Okay. I'm pretty sure they've added some small changes to the cinematics as well. So I think me and you were both in the other night when Pride got to the cinematic of Arthas returning to his father. There were more angles. There were new parts where it was just on the side of it.
The cinematic was exactly the same.
I remember. I think there was some extra angles. I would love to put a side by side just to see if there was. And if I'm wrong, I'll put my hands up. But I'm pretty sure there was at least 1 or 2 moments where either because it was enhanced, it may have looked like it may have been a different angle, or whether there was just an extra bit here and there. I don't know what it was.
The cutscenes the pre-rendered cutscenes that you see at sort of like the end and start of each campaign have remained the same.
Impervium says they are as well. Okay,
I'll upscaled.
I'll believe it if Impervium says that's him and Pride of the Warcraft.
They are upscaled to HD and they look fantastic.
The starting cinematic with the human and the orc fighting in the Infernal looks awesome.
Yeah,
when he comes out,
looks awesome.
I remember very specifically the orc. He was kind of like. I remember the detail of graphics on him from way back because I've watched the cinematic so many times, and now looking at the new one, I just compared them and just like that looks so much better. And you know they haven't redone it; they just kind of like upped it a bit, and it looks so much better. It does look good. And Arthur looked awesome when he came in with Frostmourne. Frostmourne looked. Whoa.
Oh, it looks. Yeah. Again, they look incredible. The in-game cutscenes. That's where the reforged content is that they do look a lot better. There's a fantastic. The cutscene that I saw was the one where Arthas finds Frostmourne.
Oh, right. I haven't seen that one yet.
That looks amazing. And the best part of it is...
Was that an in-game one? So it's just in-game models?
It's an in-game model.
Yeah.
But what is awesome is that the moment he picks up Frostmourne and you see him with Frostmourne, his model changes.
Oh, okay. All right.
So his model slightly changes. And as Imperium says, the human versus cinematic is a proper redone cinematic because that was the announcement trailer.
Yes.
But yeah, the cinematic with Arthas is where he gets Frostmourne. Yeah, he actually changes from his hair starts to turn white and he starts to have like ice growing on his armor. It looks amazing, and I recommend you go and watch that one.
Okay. I'll get there. I'm playing it. I'm slowly getting through. I'm just doing the prologue of the Horde, prelude of the Horde. You know, the one with Thrall. I've just got to them reaching one of the islands out on the ocean.
Okay.
So I'm not very far at all. I've only just probably started.
But you're getting through it.
I'm slowly getting through it, and I can't wait.
Oh yeah, and his eyes turn white as well.
Very nice. Okay, that's pretty cool.
It's a fantastic scene, and the majority of them are all like that. Grom looks incredible.
Oh, that was one thing I wanted to say. So you said they changed a few voice lines, so they and what have you.
Yes.
I remember Pride saying that, like at the very start when Thrall talks to man, it's like, "Damn it, Hellscream!" It's like, "Where are you?" Or "Damn it, Grom." So they either changed it from Grom to Hellscream or vice versa.
I think it was Grom to Hellscream.
It was because they're referring to him as Hellscream more. But there was one where an orc's line changes, and I have it like in my head just on repeat, and I remember it specifically. But they changed it to Hellscream instead of Grom, and it's like, "The humans have captured some orcs, War Chief. Maybe they're referring to Hellscream."
It's really obvious.
Just change, and I was caught off guard, and I was like, "Okay, maybe they're referring to."
They changed Grom to Hellscream.
Yeah.
So that was the change.
The pitch of the last word just felt so out of place, but I don't mind it. But it just gave me a chuckle. Like, okay, well done.
Like I said, again, Warcraft 3 was such a game changer for Blizzard, for not only for Blizzard but for the gaming genre, TSs, and the gaming landscape. Because from Warcraft 3, we got games like World of Warcraft, which is the biggest MMO of all time. From Warcraft 3, we got it's a small game. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called Dota. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Dota, Farseer?
No, I've got no idea what that is.
Okay.
I've never heard of it ever.
Apparently it's a small game. It's going to get some traction at some point.
Oh yeah, I'll be playing Legend of Runeterra later, by the way, guys. That's a really cool game. Based off League of Legends.
However, there is one thing we have yet to cover. And it is one thing that I am 100% against.
Okay.
And not happy with.
Okay, shoot.
question for you, Farseer.
Yes.
Who owns the custom maps in Warcraft 3?
I know this. Officially, I believe it is Blizzard.
So before, it was the creator.
Oh, okay. Was it before? Okay.
However, now it is Blizzard. And it is not just owning the maps.
Okay.
So they own everything to do with the maps. If they want to use your map for certain things, you are to hand over all of your data on that created map. If they want you to stop using a map, you are to immediately delete said map. Any form of refusal to comply will result in the termination of your account. Do you know why they have done this?
No. You tell.
Because of a little game called Dota.
Oh.
If they turned round and the next Dota is made, guess who gets all the money from that?
Them.
Blizzard. Because there can't be another Dota. If this was in effect when the original Warcraft 3 was around, there would be no Dota. Because Blizzard would own the map. The moment that this map was used for some form of tournament, for some form of commercially available thing, it would have been shut down.
If it was claimed by Blizzard, then yes, there would have been a Dota, but it would have been one they claimed and not their idea.
Exactly.
Which is...
So it doesn't matter. So hang on. Let me see if I can find the actual thing, because it is it needs to be read out aloud.
Okay.
Because it is ridiculous.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, right. So the best part about Warcraft 3 was the creative freedom that everybody had way back when, and that kind of fell over into. Does the same? Now here's a question for you. Do you know? Does the same rule apply to StarCraft 2 custom maps as well?
I don't believe so, no.
Right, okay, so this makes this even more stupid, to be fair. So, if this doesn't apply to Warcraft 3 and doesn't apply to the StarCraft 2 custom maps, the best part about the RTSs from Blizzard is the creative freedom. What the amount of maps and creativity people can go to just use the engine for ways and they love. And the stupid thing about that is, and we're talking about him in a bit, is Jeff Kaplen loves to see what people can do with maps and changing things, and that is exactly why the Overwatch team gave the players the creative tools to create their own game modes and do their own things, because they loved and they wanted people to create and go and do their own things. Now, maybe whatever they create in Overwatch does get owned by Blizzard. I'm not quite sure what that kind of entails either, but they literally went out and said, we love watching you create and, doing your own thing, so go and have these. So I feel as though the rules for who says who owns this, who owns that, is done by very different people. In fact, I know it is. It's done by very different people than the passionate developers like Jeff and whoever's running Warcraft 3 and blah, 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 blah. I'm pretty sure they're just like, you know what, we want you to create, we want you to go out and develop, and then the big wigs are like, no, everything they make is going to be ours because we need to make money, and we can't let things like Dota slip away again because, that's a lot of money it's made, and we need it all in our pocket. Yeah, that's what the big people are like. That's what they sound like. So, yeah, no, I think it's very different from them. So, I don't go... And very rarely do I turn around and go, F you developers, you've done this really bad, because most of the time it's never the developers. It's always the people in management, it's always people above them making the decisions. The developers give us these amazing games. They don't always make decisions of what happens after. It's not them. So, yeah, it's a bit annoying. That's a bit shit.
Yeah, I'm trying to find this actual... Where the hell is it? If you look at, if you look at the fact that people are asking for refunds and Blizzard aren't giving them, seems a little bit ridiculous. It does, yeah. It's pretty. Again, there's a lot of stuff that I think people are taking out of the they're taking out of context. I think a lot of the stuff that people are complaining about is their own issue. It's their fault that they turn around and they go, well, this isn't what I wanted. It's like, okay, what did you want then?
Yeah,
I mean, at the same time,
take Steam for example. If you get a game and you play it for like a half an hour, and it's not what you thought it was, you can refund it for the full amount, and rightfully so. If people have done the same with Warcraft, if they played maybe an hour or less than 3, so I think it's less than 3 or less than an hour, something like that on Steam. So if you played like less than an hour, for example, of Warcraft 3, and you're like, I'm really not liking this, because you can get a good feel for Warcraft 3 within an hour. People who say they can't are lying. You can get a good feel for what it's about within an hour. If in that hour you were happy, and then maybe in hour 2 you were happy, but hour 3 you were like, oh, suddenly no, well then tough. If you were not happy within the first moments you were playing that, you're getting into games, you were like, nope, I'm not feeling this. Nope, I'm not feeling this. Try some of the story. Nope, I'm not feeling this. And you've only been on there like an hour, and then you've gone, nah, this ain't right. And on that day or the next day, you go, I'd like a refund. Blizzard would look on your account and go, they've had this for about a day or 2, maybe even 3, and they've only played like an hour's worth, and they want a refund, sure. But if you've like played the absolute crap out of it, either just like played loads of matches, complete the story, done whatever, even halfway through the story, and you've gone, nah, I don't like it, where you've literally consumed a lot of the content on there already. You've accepted it for what it is at that point. I'm sorry. If you don't like it when you're halfway through it, just expecting it to get better, which, I mean, again, you get the feel for it the moment you start opening up, then it's kind of tough. They don't have to refund you. It is on a case-by-case basis, of course, when it comes to refunds, and it always is. But if you've played through this game and you've consumed a lot of it, or even like a good portion of it, and then you've changed your mind, sorry. I wouldn't, I don't think any company would give you a refund. It's the same with Steam. If you play 3 hours of a game on Steam or something, or so much, or after so many days and say, I want a refund, they don't give you a refund. Same with any company.
Here we go. So this is the ownership section of the custom game acceptable use policy. I finally found it.
Yeah.
Okay. So bearing in mind that, some of the most popular custom games were like the DBZ tribute games.
Yes.
They were, Dota, of course, spawned from this, which was wildly popular. Okay. This is the exact wording in the policy.
Go ahead.
Custom games are and shall remain the sole and exclusive property of Blizzard. Without limiting the foregoing, you hereby assign Blizzard all of your rights, title, and interest in and to all custom games, including but not limited to any copyrights in the content of any custom games. If for any reason you are prevented or restricted from assigning any rights in the custom games to Blizzard, you grant to Blizzard an exclusive, perpetual, worldwide, unconditional, royalty-free, irrevocable license, enabling Blizzard to fully exploit the custom games or any component thereof for any purpose and in any manner whatsoever. You further agree that should Blizzard decide that it is necessary, you will execute any further assignments and or related documents promptly upon receiving such a request from Blizzard in order to effectuate the intent of this paragraph. To the extent you are prohibited from transferring or assigning your moral rights to Blizzard by applicable laws, to the utmost extent legally permitted, you waive any moral rights or similar rights you may have in all such custom games, without any remuneration. Without limiting Blizzard's rights or ownerships in the custom games, Blizzard reserves the right, in its sole and absolute discretion, to remove custom games from its systems and or require that a custom game developer cease any and or all development and distribution of a custom game. Please note that your Blizzard account can be subject to disciplinary action in event that you do not comply with Blizzard's request or this policy.
Okay, so I've got two things about this. The second part, when it's about shutting down maps on request,
yeah,
can be the clause for protect themselves against people making maps of some nature that is inappropriate or wrong or completely, you know, I don't mean this in like people are being creative. I mean they've completely abused it and it's gone like completely out the window. I can understand.
When you say that, how do you mean?
It's sort of like what Valve need to do, what Steam needs to do. So if they put up, if a game goes up on Steam, which it does quite often, of some racist murder game which is blatantly abusing the system because just to get through because it can, then they have all rights to remove it. So that they have all rights to remove it, but the thing is that because of how they police their thing, it isn't removed until it's reported loads of times. But if Valve basically had a clause in, let's just say this for example, similar to Blizzard's of saying we have the right to remove any game that we deem blah 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 inappropriate or what have you, and if failure to do so will result in.
That's fine.
I think that for that part, I think
everything
that's what
else.
that is. Yeah. So everything else, yeah. So the first part sounds as though you're getting a court order. It sounds as though they are sending you a legal document saying everything you make belongs to us. If you don't, you're absolutely fucked and you're in trouble. And I don't like that. Yeah, well, no. There is a if you don't, because they say if you don't, because that's exactly what they say in there from what you read. And you're right though, there is no don't because
there is no don't.
But the thing is
you could make a map, and Blizzard could use that for a tournament. You wouldn't see anything from that.
With nothing. That's wrong. That is absolutely wrong, and I hate it. And it's not the developers, it's the people above them making these decisions. They don't have to do this. They didn't do this with Warcraft 3. They don't have to do it with this. And when you release a new not what you want riding alongside it. Say, hey, by the way, guys, look at this. Like that is not what you want. Yeah,
no. You're mentioning about the time. You know, people aren't getting refunded because of their time in the game.
Yes.
You do realize that if somebody has had the game for 2 days and they have spent all of that time not being able to get into games because every single time they get into the menu and they press play game, the game crashes.
As I said before, it is a case by case basis. If that is the case and Blizzard can see multiple crash reports on that, which I'd imagine they could, then yes. But like I said, case by case basis. I was going on about okay, but I was going on about if people have played it for a good chunk and then want refunds. So there's difference.
If somebody's turned around, they've played the entire game and then they go, no, but that's not what's happening.
Okay, no, that's fine. So I was basically saying if this situation this, if this situation this, if this situation this, case by case. But no, honestly, it's you don't want that alongside your game.
So here's the thing with Warcraft 3 Reforged, I have no issue with the cinematics. I have no issue with the art style. I have no issue with any of the gameplay features.
I have no issue.
Fantastic. It looks exactly, like a Reforged would.
Yes.
And I'm happy they've done it. Everything else
to add on to that
is an absolute shit show.
I understand that sometimes there are some bugs as well. I understand that. As before, it wasn't ready in December. We know that. We hell know that. I was frustrated because I was the one trying to get into games. I was just trying to play matches, and it just wasn't working again and again. And yes, it is frustrating, and I understand that. At this point, a lot of them bugs should be ironed out, and I think there's a lot more than there needs to be. But sometimes I understand that some get through. It depends on how many I encounter. Again, I think it's case by case. But that, no. I just that's the big players making that decision in the company, and I heavily dislike that. And they are the ones that's going to cost themselves money because they're being greedy. Like you can't release a game with really big creative things. That's like saying when World of Warcraft came out, oh, by the way, guys, any content you make involving World of Warcraft belongs to us. That means any machinima, any community stations like Warcraft Radio, Wowhead, anything like that, all belongs to Blizzard, and you're making us the money. Imagine if they said that, there wouldn't be no Wowhead, there wouldn't be no us, there wouldn't be no anyone, because everyone would go, no one would do that.
Why would I bother?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what the hell? And then WoW would have not been as popular. Then that'd have crashed and gone. Now they're doing that with Warcraft 3, and and that one thing alone is going to break the community. And Impervium, I think what Impervium says, what did he say? Like when...
This will destroy the creative community's drive to create more for the new game.
That was
I love customs. I hate all of this.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I completely agree. That is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. I want to avoid to say what the hell were they thinking, because I know it's not the people who with the right minds thinking it. It's just the greedy assholes thinking. I think everyone who enjoys and loved Warcraft 3 and wanted Reforged to work are probably unanimous in thinking that is the worst thing. Oh, and 100%. That is the most horrible decision. And the worst part as well, the people who made that decision don't give a fuck. They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. If the game burns, oh well.
Why would they?
If the game burns, we'll just fire the people who made it. It's obviously their fault.
Well, why would they turn around and...
That's upsetting. That is genuinely upsetting. On that somber note, I'm ads.
An ad break.
Yeah, that's not upsetting. I think we need an ad break after that. We need a bit of a reset. We're going to come back and we're going to jump back into a bit more World of Warcraft, talk about some visions, experiences that myself and Kexman have had, and we'll also be jumping into a discussion with Jeff, who has brought us some new Overwatch updates, and they are quite a doozy. We will be just a few moments. We'll be right back with you guys.
Oh, finally, some free time. Hey guys.
Pride, where have you been all day? The race to world first is insane this patch.
Well, I woke up this morning, went to work, came home, kids tried to kill me, wife needed everything, so I've just been too busy to keep up with the race.
Okay, we'll go to warcraftradio.com/RWF and check out the latest kill video.
Whoa. This says, everything. Kill videos, recaps. Are these progress bars? These are in real time?
Yeah, man, everything's up to the minute. Even on mobile.
So basically, this is the race to world first for people with zero free time.
Yeah, pretty much.
The race to world first. For those on the go. Warcraft Radio.
And we are back, guys. How is it going? We have had a bit of a breather, breathing in the good vibes, and out the negative.
I've just been watching Complexity on Carapace and Zoth. So
okay. Is that nothing? No real progress just there at the moment. Kexman just rolling through it, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. There's no massive progress. They've made it so their best pull is 45.8% in phase 3. They're currently on 22 pulls. The first phase doesn't seem too bad, but I'm genuinely terrified to see exactly how this plays out. It's going to be painful.
45% on phase 3 is not too bad already. That's not bad.
Yes, but that is a lot of health to get through.
Yeah.
You're already at that point at 45% health. Fury of Zoth, you're going to be looking at around the region of 170 million health still to go.
It's like eating cake and there's so much more left. I'm so full.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But also during this fight as well, in the normal and heroic version, Wrath to help you. In this one, you do not, which is pretty disgusting.
Rathian's got some shades on her deck chairs. Like, you got this.
I'm not
Sipping
gonna
on a pina
go
colada.
into the sanity effects. So I'm not gonna go into everything, how it works. But yeah, it's even the 45.8% is a decent number, especially for 22 pulls. I could see this taking over 100 pulls, even though they're already at that stage.
Okay.
And we know for a fact that Zoth himself has a secret mythic phase, so that's going to take even longer.
That'll be fun to see. Hopefully a secret mythic ending, we're all hoping as well.
I would, yeah. I don't think it's going to happen,
No.
but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, we can hope. Anyway, speaking of Zoth, myself and Kexman have been obviously playing the patch 8.3. We have been experiencing the visions of Zoth. One of the main core features is doing the vision runs.
Visions of Unzoop.
Unzoops. Yep, we go in there and get our Unzoops. I would love to go in there and there be a chest, open it. Unzoops. That'd be wonderful.
Unzoops.
Unzoops.
I want Unzoops.
Only found in the visions of Zoth. Whoa.
Unzoops. Let madness take control of your taste buds.
But, yes.
Zeke, if you're still in the Twitch chat, get on that.
A mutated.
I need some Unzoop cereal,
Unzoop cereal.
please. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but
we've
no, it's been
doing
good.
The visions. It's been good fun. I've been playing a fair bit more than you have.
You've done a few more, yep.
Yes, but one thing that I'm really interested in is I'm actually running a lot more visions than I thought I would, because realistically, you only need to run one a week to get your cloak up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm managing to pull sort of. I think I'm on. Let me think. I've got three keys, if you will, quote unquote, available in my in my bag, and I've got enough to buy 2 more. Nice. And I've already done 2 runs this week, so I'm doing a lot more than I thought I would.
Sikajit's also been playing a bunch of visions. They are fun. Visions is fun, but I've done 2 of the current stuff. Yeah, so I think between myself and Kexman, I know we've both done Stormwind and Orgrimmar now. Not in their fullest, but we've experienced them. I think so far I've only done 1 run with Kexman, so we've done a 2-man through Stormwind. When we did that, we managed to do the Forge Master. What's his name?
I can't remember.
The dwarf Forge Master who breathes the fire. We managed to do I think it was the Gatekeeper in the very front of the front of town. Then we went back and we did Illyria. Yes. Yeah. So we managed to get through 3 bosses so far. Orgrimmar.
So much easier.
I can tell you what I've done in Orgrimmar, then you can tell me because you've probably done more.
Okay.
So in Orgrimmar so far, the only ones that I've done is Garona and Thrall. The first time I went and did like Garona's lot, I was like, holy shit, what's going on? Like the first big minion you fight at the start that has Garona, I didn't realize that they were like a chunky, like not a boss, but a chunky mini boss.
Big boy.
And I was going through in there, tossing me up in the air and like pulling out my sanity. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then when I killed it and it's like objective complete and Garona drops down, I was like, oh, that's why he was so hard. Like it makes sense.
I've done on live, I've done Garona and Zappy Boy. On the PTR, I did a complete clear.
Oh, nice.
I will say, so Orgrimmar is easier than Stormwind when it comes to the actual objectives.
Yep.
However, once you've done all 4 objectives, Thrall becomes tougher, simply because of the abilities that he gains. Illyria isn't as difficult. However, for melee, Illyria is hell.
Yeah.
Illyria is terrible.
Considering we're both melee at the moment, yeah. But see, it reminds me of when people were criticizing Visions at the very start. They're like, lol, Visions is just crap, it's rubbish, and Thrall has 2 abilities. Step out the way and just move, and it's not that difficult. It's like, yes, there's a reason why he only has 2 very simple abilities.
And then they kill the other bosses, and they go, oh god, okay. So, like, two of his abilities are pretty easy to get through. You don't really have to deal with them.
Yeah.
However, there's the other 2 that are horrific. The one he gets from Rexar, which is the 2 boars, it's not nice.
I think that's a cool, interesting mechanic that they're using. So you kill another boss and the main one gets stronger. Rather than just them increasing their health or they hit harder, they gain an ability from them other things. I think that'd be an interesting mechanic to have for future like raids and maybe even dungeons to a lesser extent in the future. It's not, like, because it gives more options. It opens more doors for, you know, being more creative in them and whatever. That's great. Like, I think I'd love to see more of that.
I think we've had at least 2 people in my guild have done full clears of Orgrimmar.
In a full group or
no, by themselves.
Oh, by themselves. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting to see that the majority of them are demon hunters, because in Visions, demon hunters are gods.
Once I get the grip to it.
We have sections of Orgrimmar, not in one run though. Okay, yeah, the Elite Extermination is the big one that's really going to help, and obviously Gift of the Titans. Those boars are annoying. Yeah, Rexar with those boars is it's painful. Yeah, it's best, and as Seek says, it is 100% best to, instead of just going, oh, we'll cleave the boars down, I'll ignore it, I'll dot them. No, best thing you can do is, as soon as they appear, hard switch.
Noted.
Hard
as I haven't done them yet. Noted.
Then back to Rexar.
Artemis
It's the same with Thrall.
Okay. Artemis also asks, is 2-man easier than solo? You had some feedback on after doing one run of Stormwind with me and then one on your own, didn't you?
It's I think is 2-man easier than solo. So 2-man is definitely easier in some regards, because you end up, you know, you can res 9 times out of 10 you're not taking as many hits from various different ads, so your sanity isn't dropping as quickly. And obviously with the effects that you gain from the research, it does stack, so you start with more sanity.
Yes.
2 or 3 is probably the number one I go for. It feels as though solo is going to be the end mode. And my thought on it is, I don't understand why. So what I would love to see Blizzard do, and this is my idea, because at the moment the patch is going, you know, the moment that most guilds have downed and Zoth, the patch is going to fizzle out.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Let's add something different. So what I would like to see is, let's retain Visions as, so you pay a price, you get your run, you can upgrade your cloak. At the end of your first run of the week, you get gear, you get coalescing visions, you know, you get the charms that you can put towards your Titanic reset. Then what you do is you have another version of Visions, which you can potentially unlock when you have managed to gain all the masks and, you know, you've completed the you know, all the heroic visions and all.
Okay.
You've got achievements for them. This heroic visions does not give you any form of loot, so you gain nothing from it. Okay. However, the horrific vision is completely free.
Okay.
You can go in and do what you want.
Right.
Okay. And you'll still have your Titanic things active. By default, this Titanic vision will have all of the masks unlocked. So you can choose which mask you want to use.
Okay.
Each one of these visions, whether it is Stormwind or Orgrimmar, has a leaderboard.
Oh, that's where he's going.
You can have a leaderboard for Europe, a leaderboard for America, a worldwide leaderboard, and it goes on time. So it's a case of how long did it take them to clear the entire thing. What you then do is you then make the mean something. So you add a prize at the end of it. If you finish it number 1 in the world, you get an all expenses paid trip to Blizzard, or you get to, you know, go to the Blizzard offices to help design something, or something along those lines. Your character gets immortalized in the games, for example.
Yeah. Why not?
This then gives you something to do outside of the raids. It gives you something to do, you know, with the way up to Shadowlands. It also gives the opportunity to test and see how the community responds to some sort of solo-based competitive play.
I like her.
Potentially gives you ideas for Torghast.
Yeah, I like Sigurd's idea. Help design something for Torghast. Design a monster for Torghast.
You become a monster in Torghast.
Or something like that. That'd be cool.
Would that be?
Yeah.
So, you know,
or someone named after your character or something like that. Yeah.
I don't know how difficult this would be. I don't know how, at this point in time to implement it into 8.3 it would be.
True. I think just having a character named after you would be simple on that end, but on
on
the visions end,
like
if they
implementing the leaderboards, implementing that, not the.
We can hope they might already have something in place for it. I mean, again, we're hoping, which we just haven't seen it yet, but we'll see. Maybe
it's something that they could do that gives people a reason to log in and do 8.3 outside of zoth. If they want to.
That was not raiding.
Yeah, you can. You have realm, you have EU leaderboards. The realm leaderboards alone could, you turn around and you say, oh well, I've managed to finish number 1 on the realm leaderboards, therefore I get a special title. I get a special mount or something. Just give them something to work towards. And you could, if you wanted to, have a group version of the leaderboard.
Yeah, why not? Why not indeed? Yeah, leaderboards are pretty cool. I am definitely for that. But also, Artemis says that would require effort. See, thing is that Blizzard can do effort and have done. It's called World of Warcraft Legion. That was the most effort they put into an expansion, and they can do it. It was glorious. They can do it, and we're hoping they will bring that energy back for Shadowlands. We're really, really hoping.
Well, there's that theory, isn't it, that every other expansion is fantastic.
There's that theory that there's a Team A and a Team B.
Yeah, which has been proven to be absolute bullshit multiple times.
But I can see why people think that, though. I can see why people think that. Well, I mean, maybe it'd be better to think that rather than it's the same team, but they just do shit every other expansion. Because it makes no sense. But if there was a Team A and a Team B, at least it would make sense. Like, you know what I mean? So maybe it's just people just trying to make sense of it. Of why there's a good one.
Seek saying I don't mind BFA. I'm in the same. I don't mind at all. I've played much worse. So I'm not going to worry myself too much with that.
I think it's worse in some.
Limit. They've got a decent pull on the go.
That's okay. I think it's worse in some ways to WoD. I didn't even play WoD, and WoD was not good.
Say, what would you know about WoD?
I didn't play WoD, and because I basically caught up on everything that happened in WoD. There wasn't much. Selfie patch. So basically,
hey, Twitter integration patch, the greatest patch known to WoW.
So there wasn't much that happened in WoD, and in some ways BFA is worse because it's sort of like they tried something and it failed spectacularly, whereas WoD just didn't do it, and it was probably best that they didn't do it rather than it failing. So it's kind of like bad expansion, good expansion, bad expansion, good expansion. We'll see what Shadowlands brings, and fingers crossed it'll be full of content like Legion was. It'll be full of things to do like Legion was. You'll feel powerful like you did in Legion, and you'll have a lot of cool things that you can do. There will always be downtimes. We'll always get and remember the withered army training, but there were things to do, and it was fine. I mean, for the annoyance of the withered army training, it wasn't the worst thing.
No, there's much worse things to do.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't. It wasn't the most enjoyable thing, but it wasn't the worst. So, eventually, WoW comes down to a grind, no matter what way you look at it. It's an MMO. There will be a grind in one way or the other. So you look at it rather the less than was it enjoyable, and more so, this is a grind, but is it a bad one? And you're like, is it a bad grind? No. Is it a bit frustrating because there's a withered army training? Yeah, but is it like, is it tolerable? Are you kind of happy to do it like every other day or whatever? I'm like, yeah, fair enough, yeah. And as long as it hits that line, you're okay, because they can't make everything spectacular, especially grindy stuff. But anyway, let's get in to the next bit of news, which I know you're excited to talk about. Let's get some positivity in here.
Yes, positivity, the power of positivity.
Hi there, guys. It's Kexman and Farseer from the Overwatch team. And we're here to talk to you about Overwatch stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Overwatch. So I obviously spoke to you yesterday. Did you sort of like have a look at the news? Did you see anything? Did you take anything in, or are you?
I was passively absorbed. I was actively absorbing it, then I was passively absorbing it. Then I do apologize to Papa Jeff, but then I did zone out because it was such a long video.
Do you know what he's doing?
No, I'll be honest with you. No, do explain to me and the audience.
One thing that they are looking at doing is using a experimentation mode. So what this experimentation mode is, that you have the button that you can click when you're taking a look at your whether you want to play now or something like that. What this does is
in the last half of the show, I'll just let you know your mic is starting to do that thing. It's been fine until this last moment, and now it's really starting to do that thing.
It's doing that thing again.
Oh, it's doing that thing again. Yes.
Yeah. So apologies if I cut out, but I will try my best. My mic is getting old. I think it's starting to die.
Yeah, you need a new one.
Yeah. So as I was saying, the new I sound far. Lutechi says I sound far.
You sound far.
I sound far.
You are far, not far away. You're just far. But
I'm just far.
Yes. Continue.
Yeah. So there's a new experimentation mode. What this experimentation mode is, it gives you the option to kind of explore changes the Overwatch team are making outside of the PTR. So this isn't balance changes. This isn't anything to do with hero changes. This is more to do with mode. Now, one thing they're thinking about introducing is a hero pool. So
like a Zerg pool.
No, not quite. There's not quite the same as a Zerg pool.
Oh.
It's more a case of, so say for example they have this week when you go into play mode or ranked, these heroes are available to you.
Oh yeah.
Next week, there's a different set of heroes available to you.
Kind of like Heroes of the Storm. If you have no characters unlocked and you're just working on the free rotation.
Kind of, yeah.
Uh-huh.
They haven't announced how this is going to affect the Overwatch League yet. Let me see if I can find the official. I probably should have pulled up the official.
I don't know how I feel. I mean, I only know they're only doing this for one game mode. It's ranked, I believe, and you can still do the free for alls and everything for the rest.
Oh god!
But Jeff, I don't see the explanations why. So why is this happening? Like, yes, you get hero pools. It changes from week to week. Why is this impactful?
So
how is this affect?
This is something that is happening because. Where is it? Okay, that doesn't give me any of the information I want. Thank you. Bear with me just a second.
Clearly, Overwatch is dying.
Yeah, Overwatch
Blizzard's
is dying.
shutting down. Actually, while you're getting that, speaking of which, so, and this is kind of Warcraft Radio, but hey, thank you for that follow, Prince David. Very much appreciated. So, this is one thing to say. Riot Games are on the rise. Now, when they
you in this, is this Rune Terror?
No, it's not just Rune Terror. So originally, originally they had that big announcement where they're making a card game, they're making a fighting game, they're making a RTS, I think it was, or something or other. They're making like 5 new games, and that's the first time Riot have stepped out of League of Legends and gone, we're making loads of new games. And with the amount of variety they're bringing out.
Hi, Tom.
And with the amount of variety they're bringing out, it's almost as if they're trying to rise and be competition to Blizzard. It almost that's the closest thing I can see them do, because
they announced like a ridiculous amount of titles that were essentially the Blizzard lineup, didn't they?
Kind of, yeah. So you've got League of Legends already, so they already got their MOBA. That was their core one. They've released Legends of Runeterra in open beta, and it is a good card game, and I would even argue better than Hearthstone because of the mechanics. Blasphemous, I know. They've got a fighting game coming out, which is very interesting. Blizzard never did a fighting game, but they're Riot are giving it a go.
Give me a fighting game, though.
Yeah, definitely. They're releasing, I believe, an RTS and a platformer, I think was the other 2. So they're releasing at least 4 other games. And I can imagine this being on a Riot launcher, kind of like Blizzard's, and, having these continual things going through and have big support and linking them all, networking them just like Blizzard. And I can just see this happening. And competition is always a good thing. Don't get me wrong. Competition is always a good thing, especially in the games industry, because it tells other companies, you need to get your stuff together, otherwise people are going to go there. All Riot need to do, and I would not be surprised, give them 5 years and they'll go, hey, look, League of Legends, like Runeterra, the MMO, or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, League of Legends is such a big game, and they've managed to build up so much history with it.
There's a lot of story.
There's a lot of story. I would honestly be surprised if we didn't see that.
Yeah.
Prince David saying, sure thing, first time seeing you guys live. Sounds like an interesting conversation. Right is doing a lot for sure. Thank you for joining us live.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad you could catch us in all of our live glory.
Yes.
Yeah, I think games such as, I mean, maybe not so much Dota, but LoL at the very least would owe itself very well to an exploration of that world. I would be 100%, but I'd be interested, instead of them taking it down the MMO route, which tends, or at least it used to happen quite a lot, obviously, you know, Star Wars, Star Trek, Conan, you know, all this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather see them take it down the route of creating maybe an action-adventure game. Or,
yeah,
make a focused single-player story, and that would
I would definitely be up for that. Why I say MMO though, and definitely on board for that, but why I say MMO is because I think by the time it'll come out, the cycle of the genres will have gone back around to MMOs again. Because MMOs, like, the core time was when WoW was made. That was like the MMO time. And then it moved on to, I think it was MOBAs right after that. And then it was, can't remember what it was after that. There was something else, and then it was the Battle Royale genre. There's been like about 5 genres between MMOs and now. So there's MOBAs and Battle Royales and open world survival. That was one of them at the time as well. And then Battle Royales. And now Battle Royales are now starting to fade out as well, because we're not seeing much of them coming out anymore. Fortnite already established itself, and players on Battlegrounds, and maybe a few others. Some people kind of loosely still kind of build off of it, but that's like the main core. The time to bring them out has now gone. The next lot of things to come out, we'll see. But eventually we will see the cycle, and we will return to MMOs again. It will happen. So if Riot time it right on that second coming of MMOs, on that second wave, if they get it right, they could release the next big thing. It might not not ever get as big as World of Warcraft. We won't compare it to WoW. But I think as long as they release it at the right time, and it hits the point where it's like, okay, as long as we stay above these numbers, we can maintain and do really well, then all the power to them. I would love to see what they could do for a League of Legends, Runeterra MMO. It'd be very interesting.
I think the time of MMOs is over. I think part of that stems from the fact that we are at we're at a point where MMOs are kind of old. There's going to be no real massive call for MMOs to, because of the way people play games. They're not going to turn around and suddenly start going, we need to do this, we need to do that. I think it's more a case of MMOs will change. It won't be MMOs that we know.
I agree. I think maybe it's an MMO of a sort, like MMO-like. So you have a community, you can team up with friends, but maybe it's got like something that happens this week. So it's got weekly things. You can do certain dungeons this week, so you can just get that burst little of content in one day, maybe the next day, and then next week maybe it's different. I would be down for that. That's the sort of thing for someone of our age, that would be better for our time.
That would be cool.
And such. And Chaos Cute Soft says in the chat as well, I love MMOs, I just don't have the time for that anymore, unfortunately. Same. I don't have as much time for MMOs as I did. I used to play WoW just so much, like when I was younger, just so much when I had the time. But now, myself and Kex, we've got full-time jobs, we've got things to maintain, we've got things, here, left, and right. We've got big big responsibilities. No, we don't have that time anymore. I wish we had that time. Like, I want that time back, Kexman. I want it back. But
we have a new best pull by limit.
Oh, okay.
Looks to be 41%. So they've got a 4% increase there.
Okay.
But it wasn't. It was like, 41%, but dead. There was no.
Artemis says, how does Dungeons & Dragons Online do? I'm not quite sure. I've been keeping up with D&D Online.
No, I haven't been keeping up with Dungeons & Dragons.
I think it's still going.
It is still going.
Yeah, I think it's got a little
so the Overwatch...
Anyway, moving back to Overwatch on the subject,
the Overwatch changes. There will be a hero pool in competitive play. It will affect the Overwatch League. So each week, there will be 1 tank, 1 healer, and 2 damage dealers unavailable during selection.
Okay.
This will be decided upon by the team.
God.
However,
Yes.
it's not random. What they will do is they will look at the data from the previous week, whichever like tank is being played the most or whichever healer is being played the most, they will remove from the hero. So there is a constant kind of fluctuation on the meta. This does, the one thing is it could be kind of a comical thing where it's like, Zarya has been removed from the pool because she was really powerful. Oh, she's back this week. The next week, Zarya has been removed from the pool because she's really powerful. Oh, she's back next week.
Yeah.
Zarya has been removed from the
Yeah.
You could end up with that. I don't, they're in control of it. So they'll be a little bit more
supposed to be.
Take a look at it.
They're supposed to be doing a lot of balance change. That part I heard from Jeff. Like people, one of the top things that was requested of the Overwatch team, is that people wanted to say, could you do more balance changes? Could you do more balances on the fly and more frequently? And that's what they're doing with this. So what I was going to say before I remembered that was, oh, do you think that people, they're kind of like trying to not force people, but have people adapt to new metas and new ways of playing and new combinations by having these hero pools, which is pretty cool. And then I thought, well, hang on, isn't that like it's like really imbalanced because some heroes are just not as good as others and whatever? But maybe that's where the balancing and retuning comes in on the Overwatch team's part.
Exactly. It's they kind of took the first step with the introduction of hard capping teams at 2 tanks, 2 healers, 2 damage dealers.
Mm-hmm.
Which was good because it got rid of the GOATS meta. The GOATS meta, whilst it was
was that the one that they did during the esports and it was incredibly boring?
Where it was 3 tanks, 3 healers, and it was the same 3 tanks, 3 healers
every time.
It was massively effective. Don't get me wrong, but if you want your esports to grow, you have to take steps. To encourage teams to use more exciting classes, more exciting characters.
It would be like
the
same in just you can continue just in the same. It would be the same like in Heroes of the Storm or League of Legends or anything. The same teams using the same 5 champions every single time, every single match. How boring it would be if they never.
Doesn't matter whether you are watching League of Legends, Dota, Heroes, StarCraft. There's a reason metas exist.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't a game that is played on an esports level that doesn't have a meta. And it's always going to be something that happens. How companies kind of accommodate, the fact that there is always going to be a meta. If you remove certain characters, a new meta will appear. It's more a case of how they kind of work with that meta versus how the esports itself is presented. We are coming towards the end of the show. However, we've got one more thing that I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
And I'd like to put it towards the chat as well. So obviously, if you can hear us, join us in the Twitch chat. If you're viewing us on an external website,
if you can hear us,
just join us. And if you are listening via Anchor or you're watching YouTube, then join our Discord. All you need to do is type !Discord in the Twitch chat. It will give you a link and you can, join us in, the conversation for the
all the way over there, like through Kexman.
Not only that, if you subscribe, you get access to a special subscription-only channel. So do that as well. Yeah. YouTube and esports with Blizzard. Obviously, this has been a big change and one that has, I think a lot of people have kind of gone, okay, because it kind of came out of the blue.
Yeah, yes.
How do you feel about it?
Oh, you know what? Okay, I kind of got 2 sides about it. One is like, look, it's Blizzard that can do whatever they want. It's their esports, right? But on the other side, it's like if you decided to take your radio show elsewhere. Let's say we picked up Essence of RP way back when, and we moved to MFG. And then we picked up Essence of RP again, and then we moved it to BTW, and then we picked it up again, and we moved it elsewhere. Every time you move that show, you lose listeners or people or watchers, depending on what you have, what media you have. It just naturally happens. You have people that drop off.
And no,
It does happen though. Like when you move, people do
so
drop
they
off.
drop off,
Same
but
with
you gain
YouTube
new
channels.
viewers.
If your YouTube channel shuts down or gets closed, for example, and you make a new one, let people know I'm all on this one, you'll get a good chunk that'll go there, but you will have a lot that won't, just
But you'll
because
also
of the
gain
drop off.
new viewers.
You can gain new viewers, very true. And eventually, over the long period, as long as you keep the same production and whatever you did on the last channel, then yeah, you could regrow and have it happen again. Case in point, Markiplier, one of the biggest YouTubers ever, never heard of him. He had an old YouTube channel which was gaining traction doing. This was in his growth period when he was still quite small but doing really, really well. His channel got like demonetized or shut down or something, and he had to move to a new channel. And he was really afraid that all the work he put in from that point on didn't, would have fallen off because there is a drop off when you move channels. His didn't, and he did get a chunk that went over, and then, as you say, he got new watches and he rebuilt and he kept going. So it can happen, but when you move, there is a risk that you do alienate a lot of people, especially people when you're going from a live streaming platform to a video platform with live streaming capabilities. That's what I feel. I feel as though there will be some drop off, and they can do whatever they want. Personally, on the final note on that one, I would personally be more inclined to click and watch an esport if I'm here on Twitch rather than go over to YouTube to do it. I don't go to YouTube to watch live stuff.
So,
I don't care for it.
My thoughts on the whole thing are the fact that I feel as though esports, so every single company has tried to grow esports.
Mm-hmm.
And, let's not, the fact that Dota is probably the biggest esports on the planet. Overwatch League still has some fantastic reactions. It has a big fan base. And StarCraft 2, it still has competitions that go on.
It was quite high.
I mean, case in point, Race to World First. You look at Race to World First. At the moment, we currently have over 65,000 people watching Method.
Mm-hmm.
We have over 6,000 people watching the Complexity stream. There's a lot of people out there that are watching a lot of, Sko himself has 8,000 viewers. Max, the GM of Limit, has 22,000. There is definitely, a call for it. However, it seems to me as though people want to grow esports, but they do tend to kind of almost gatekeep it. A lot of people will kind of go, "Oh no, this is our game. We don't want to involved. If you're a noob, you don't understand any of this," which is detrimental to the growth of esports. The growth of esports is helpful for everyone. It's helpful for the developer. It's helpful for the fan.
Yeah.
The move to YouTube is going to open up a lot of people that didn't realize that WoW esports was a thing. It's going to open up a lot of people that didn't realize esports was a thing. It's getting a whole lot of people looking at your products that weren't there before. Do I believe it is going to be, a success? I don't know. There's no possible way to tell because this is completely out of. Do I believe that it's the right move? Again, in the you don't know. In hindsight, I'd love to say yes, but you don't know. Do I believe it is a potentially game-changing move or esports changing move? Yes, 100%. If Blizzard are clever and they fully put their weight behind this, other people are going to follow. They're not just going to leave Blizzard by themselves. The other side of it, this opens up a void on Twitch. Who's going to fill that? Are we going to see? Maybe we'll see. What was that game that they? Lawbringers. Was it Lawbringers?
That rings a bell. What was
Lawbreakers? Something along that line. Is that going to be the one that comes back and takes?
Oh gosh,
no, Battleborn. There we go. That was it.
Oh god, no.
Battleborn will make a return.
No, it will not.
You heard it here first, folks. The Warcraft Radio Battleborn.
I love how you cut out in the middle of that. That made it better. The World of Warcraft Radio Battleborn. You got taken off the air.
Yeah,
no.
Exactly. I got sniped by Blizzard.
Like, no, you. That's exactly what they said after they take the shot. But yeah, no, I mean, maybe there is a void, but like, I think some content creators have already been talking about it. Didn't Asmongold make a video discussing
Yes,
this and addressing this. And there are there have been some hosts and casters that have already been in contact, that have reached out to him, and things are in motion. Maybe something will happen, maybe it won't, but we will see. But bottom line is, I think it's good because, as I said, for Riot Games Rising and making all its games being competition from Blizzard, YouTube is trying to do its live stream thing now, and now that this is moved across, it's now showing itself to be competition for Twitch. And Twitch, from a lot of creators I've heard, just in general, general discussion, is that it's gotten a little lazy. It could do a lot more than it could. So laziness happens when they don't feel threatened, when they feel they're in a comfortable position.
I mean, look at me.
When companies are in have a monopoly, they don't need to worry about anything else. So why do they need to try really hard? The moment you have competition, it's great for everybody because that means they got to try better. That means the other companies are trying really hard as well. And overall, the people that win are us. And I don't mean us as a streamer. I mean us as in all of us, the community.
But also us.
But also us, yeah, especially us. But competition is great. So hopefully it shows Twitch that, hey, look, you're going to start losing some big players if you don't do something, if you rest on your laurels, which apparently a lot of people say they have been. So watch out. Watch out.
Speaking of watching out, obviously make sure you first.
Oh God, you had a big cut out there. Jesus Christ.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Try again.
Make sure you keep an eye out on our Twitter at Warcraft Radio for all of the Race to World First news, as well as our YouTube, youtube.com/Warcraft Radio.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. That one came through. And yes, please check us out on social media for our YouTubes and everything else. We got all of that's in the chat, and also
please
below.
Stick around for the raid as well. We will be raiding after this.
Do you have a raid target?
I have a raid target. It's
wonderful.
A little bit out of left field, but I feel as though it is time we paid back and raided our dearest Papa Bruce.
Oh, okie dokie. That's fine. Well, pay back. Did he raid us at some point?
No, but he's entertained me for years, so let's raid Papa Bruce.
That's very true. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us on the show. We will be back again next week. Are you going to be here next week, Kexman?
I'm going to be here next week.
Okay, we may have Dunkirk if he finally transforms from a bus back into a Scotsman.
Yes.
Maybe. We'll see.
Fingers crossed.
But until then, guys, enjoy the Race to World First coverage that we're doing. If you're watching it, just enjoy it in general.
Special offer. Sorry, I completely forgot. We do have a Patreon as well.
Ah, yes.
It's currently in the Twitch chat. Obviously, if you go to the Patreon and if you sub up to one of the tiers, you will get access to a very, very special Murloc print that will be sent to you. It features all of the staff in their Murloc alter egos. One that you don't want to miss. Please check out the Patreon. If you've enjoyed the show, then make sure you want to see us create more exciting things. That's the best way to do it.
And things are definitely in the works.
Yes, if you are listening via, Anchor, anything like that, if you're listening via podcast or if you're watching on YouTube, the link will be in the description as.
Okay. Anyway, I've been Farseer, guys.
I've been Kexman.
This has been You Think You Do, But You Don't. We'll be back again next week.
Yes, stick around for the raid. We're going to see what Papa Bruce thinks of a little raid. See if he says hello.
Catch you later, guys.